So hello and welcome to today's rather big Bully mod showcase video, which I believe might be Bully's biggest mod ever made so far, which is named Bully 2 ZAMBess, also known as Zombies Ate My Bullworthless, made by Dorkless7. The mod is for PC only, and it's still a work in progress, so things shown in this video are going to be subject to change. So the mod itself is a fan-made sequel, hence the Bully 2 part of the title, and is also heavily inspired by the SNES game called Zombies Ate My Neighbours, which I have never played because I never played the SNES. I grew up with the PS1. And the version I played was the Nightmare edition of the mod. The public version will be toned down slightly. So upon starting the mod, I found out you get two different options. You get a story mode, and you also get a free roaming option. So we're going to go over the story teaser first. I'd say the story is about 10, maybe 15 minutes long. It seems to go for a rather tongue-in-cheek approach, as depending on your choices you can completely end up completing the story and prevent the undead from even rising. Now I'm not talking about in a glitched, bugged kind of way, but I mean very tongue-in-cheek. You'll get some options. For example, one of the first ones you get is to go to the church to meet Algernon, or you can just stay in the dorm and drink bean cola. And if you choose bean cola, you're going to completely throw the story off course and yeah, the undead will never rise. But yeah, the teaser serves as a way to explain how this supposed zombie outbreak occurred, and the teaser ends just as the dead begin to rise. Unless of course you get one of the other endings where you somehow avoid the outbreak, which in that case, nothing ever happens. The story to me feels like a mixture between Bully 2 and Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. I mean, to be fair, I did say that the mod is supposed to be a fan-made sequel, but let me explain. Because the mod takes quite a bit from the Bully 2 leaks. As Jimmy mentions, he should have went to the summer camp at the beginning, which of course was actually mentioned multiple times in various leaks, and the somewhat outlandish nature of Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, where the events of the main Red Dead Redemption game occur up to a specific point, then we get a completely alternate timeline where the zombie outbreak happens and throws it down this weird alternative timeline. And obviously it has no impact on the main game, and well, this is a mod so it wouldn't have any impact on Bully anyway, but it's the kind of vibe I got from the story, where the events of Bully 1 have all happened, Gary's defeated, but in this timeline Jimmy never left Bullworth, and this stuff occurs around Halloween and next year. So when it comes down to the story script, I feel like this is where I'm going to be the most critical, because I feel it is going to be very hit or miss. The script I've seen from the teaser, Dorkless is going to include a lot more swearing, although in the one I played the swears were changed to fart because of demonetisation. And there's way more references to stuff such as drugs and occult-like behaviour, such as self-sacrificing, which itself Bully has very little of. So I can see that maybe skewing a few people off, but try to view this in the same way you would view, say, The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, where the characters in Treehouse of Horror are going to be way more different than they would be in the regular episodes to accommodate for some of the more outlandish and possibly more gory and violent plots. I'm pretty sure we've all seen the episodes where the staff of Springfield Elementary kill students and turn them into meals, and obviously that would never happen in the main show. But it's the kind of same thing here, like Algernon would not be into Satanism in the main game, but you can probably get away with it here if you view it as like some horror kind of spin-off. Now as I said, the teaser is up to about 15 minutes long, and if the mod release contains as many choices as this does, I can see this mod having quite a bit of replayability. Now Dorkless has said that with the mod, should he complete it, it will take you hours to beat, which I'm hoping he does, because this could be the first actual DLC sized mod for Bully. We've seen many mission mods before, like Bully's Nightmare and Save the School, both of which add a good few hours onto Bully as is, so it's going to be even more interesting to see this mod progress. Now one thing I'm not entirely sure on, however, is how progress is going to be saved, but I'm sure that will be sorted down the line. Now speaking of the NPCs, you'll notice that all of the students will have different appearances, sporting various different Halloween costumes, and I swear Dorkless had this up as a different download at some point, or maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. But yeah, you can only really admire them in the teaser mode. I'll get onto why later, but you have characters like Trent dressed as a stormtrooper, Ms. Phillips as Marilyn Monroe, Zoe as Medusa, Gloria as Clementine from The Walking Dead. I'd say a lot of effort was really put into these character designs alone, and gives a slightly more fresher feel to seeing these characters in different outfits for once. But now let's talk a bit about free roaming, because that is pretty much where all of the gameplay takes place. As soon as you select this mode, it puts you in a post-apocalyptic Bullworth, starting off from Jimmy's dorm room. But don't get too comfortable, because the second you set foot near that door, you are in for hell on earth. And I am not exaggerating. This will be one of the very first things you encounter before you even leave. The mod is insanely brutal in its difficulty. All of the NPCs are overwhelmingly fast and will hound you if you're detected. The trouble meter is now swapped out for a detection meter. If this is red, all the enemies in the vicinity will come for you, and they are relentless. Unlike the regular game, we can probably finish off the jocks with a spud gun. In this mod, I'd say running away is a very valid option, because should you get cornered, it will be very difficult for you to get out. I've noticed there were quite a few different types of enemies, one of the most notable being Usain Bolt. He's an absolute pain in the ass to get rid of, and the enemies will also throw items at you, namely brains and decapitated heads, which are designed to stun you so enemies can swarm you easily, especially if you're on a skateboard. There's also a very tiny amount of safe areas in the game. I'm not talking about safe houses, but just places you can go without fear of seeing anybody. These being Tad's house, the power plant, and of course the woodlands of Bullworth. And I almost forgot actually, if you do make it to one of Jimmy's safe houses, don't go in. I know it's a safe house and you'll probably think I'm safe here, but no. There are spawns in here that will spawn enemies to attack you as soon as you enter. So I'd say some nice attention to detail went into that. Now the map of Bullworth has also been semi-overhauled, because there's now a sickly green fog and sky that coats the map, and it reminds me of that Runes map from Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, with that insanely green and rather worrying looking sky. Maybe these two can now be linked to one another. But yeah, one other thing you'll notice is there's a lot of props scattered all over the place to really give Bullworth that more post-apocalyptic vibe. We have abandoned cars, trees knocked down, makeshift defence barriers made by dumpsters. It really gives us a feeling that chaos has well and truly engulfed Bullworth. And this extends to the interiors as well. In the dorms you'll see furniture thrown around, and in the main academy it's more like desks are thrown around and some amazing work has gone into this part alone. He's even reused the complete mayhem interiors to really add to the destroyed vibe. Anyway, you may also notice changes to the HUD. The clock is permanently gone, and we have 3 extra bars located under the main radar. The mascot one is invisibility, because the mod offers power-ups, which I'd say give it a slightly more arcadey kind of vibe. I'll get onto the power-ups in a moment, but the other 2 are just like survival mechanics, which are food and drink. You initially spawn with only 2 bits of food and drink on you, and the rest of them you have to manually source yourself. Drinks can be found at any beam coder machine, and food can just be found lying around. I haven't really had many issues with the survival mechanics, if you know what I mean, like the meters deplete a bit too slow. Or maybe it's fine, but it's because I get my ass handed to me multiple times that I'm not sure I've experienced it properly. Going back to power-ups, the mod also features Bull Power, which is essentially a power-up menu. There is Rewind Time, which resets you back to Jimmy's dorm. Survival is where you can just choose what to eat and drink. Beam coders seem to stack automatically, I'm not sure about how to stack apples or whatnot. But Medical Yippee is for the Nightmare Edition only, and Dorkless has said there are plans to replace this with sleeping in the public release. Likely because of its similarities with eating and drinking, because when you do this Jimmy starts smoking and he just regains health. Which kind of makes it a bit useless if you've got the other food and drink mechanics which also do the exact same thing. Now You Can't See Me enables temporary invisibility. However, don't assume this means you're completely invisible. If you're jumping around too much or you're using a skateboard, it will end the ability near instantly. It's also recommended to use this near places you can hide, because once it ends, you will find yourself jumped again almost immediately. And that's what this red meter is for. Once it's depleted, you're visible again. But in closing, I'd say this is one of the biggest mods for Buddy I've ever seen so far. It's really akin to those total conversion mods we've seen for San Andreas before, where it gives the game a new lease of life by just adding so much stuff to it that it doesn't feel like the game we know, if that makes sense. Mods like this are sorely underappreciated, and I feel like Buddy fans should give this a try at the very least to make the game feel fresh, because I don't think this video does it any justice. The trailer version, as I said, is relatively short, but this is a mod that Dorkless has been wanting to make since 2016. Yeah, nearly a decade he's been wanting to work on this mod. And he's even got videos up on his channel of when the mod was in its very early stages, when buddy modding was, let's just say, very, very restricted. To be honest, I'm really glad buddy modding has came a long way since then. I mean what I say, I'll link Dorkless's channel in the description below, so you can clearly tell a lot of time and passion has really gone into this project. And I'll link the channel to Dorkless in the description below, so you can actually give him some support and, you know, keep up to date with any teasers he releases and whatnot. It's good to see that he never really gave up on the mod. And with that, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching, I hope you kind of enjoyed this preview of the mod, I guess. And yeah, thank you for watching and have a great day.